we go.
Okay, next we're going to be making a hand-based thumb spica splint. It's going to mobilize the MP and the CMC joint of the thumb, but you'll still have functional hand use with the hand-based one because your wrist is free. These, I think, are the most difficult splints to make. And this is your rough pattern. Each of you will have a template with it. So after you cut it out on your paper towel, you will want to make sure it fits your patient. So when you form these, you'll want the elbow in a neutral position here, the forearm in a neutral position. You're going to have the thumb and index finger touching comfortably, but you have to have the IP of the thumb and your index finger touching, or the tips touching, so they can still use their hand. So here's your template, and you will start with the thumb. That's the most important. Don't worry about the rest right now. And then you will pinch here in the web space. And after I pinch, I usually take the splint off and then put it back on because you don't want it to be getting stuck on your patient. And then after you get that, and the IP of the thumb is clear, so you still can flex that thumb, you will then lightly maneuver the material so it's going to fit right against their thenar eminence in the back of the hand. Good. And then your two tails, one will be going on the back and then one's going to be coming forward here. I trim these splints up a lot. So the biggest thing is that you're going to cut down the web space here. You're going to make sure that your wrist is free from the material, so this would all be trimmed off so they can flex and extend, and that this is cut down so that it is freeing, that your proximal palmar crease is, you're not crossing over that crease because that will cause pain. And then you'll trim it up and put straps on. So it's easier here once you see me do it. So I know my pattern fits my patient. So then I will trace it out. And these, the first time you do them, they are not going to be perfect. Like I said, they're pretty, for first-time splint makers, they're pretty difficult, but it's a great skill to be able to have. Because prefabbed thumb splints, they're not real comfortable if that person wants to use their hand a lot because they're not made for the person. And then the forearm-based ones really make your person immobile. So I use these a lot for patients that have like an MP type of ligament issue, or if they've sprained their thenar musculature at all, or a lot the CMC joint osteoarthritis. So there's my pattern. Here we go. Get it nice and warm. And your grading on this is not too strict, besides the fact that you want to make sure that it is not broken apart in the web space, and that it's reinforced, and that your thumb IP is clear and able to touch your index, and that the wrist is clear. Ooh, we're getting nice and warm now. So with this, you want your patient to already be positioned and educate them on their position that they're going to hold. And you have some working time when you use aquaplast here. So just be nice and relaxed about it. And after I cut it, a lot of times I'll put it back in the material to get it really nice and warm. Nice smooth cuts, rounded edges, but most of this I'll probably trim off. So right inside that. So I'm going to put this back in to get a little warmer. But this is where you're going to start. So you always get your two diagonals. There you go. Good. And then we will start under the IP, and then we're going to pinch. I'm going to get just a little bit warmer. Gives me a little bit more working time. Good. And my patient's nice and positioned. Okay. So, there we go. So I'm going to make sure the IP is clear. Good. And I'm going to pinch it nice and tight in here. Good. Knowing that I can always do the rest of this here in a little bit, okay? Then I'm going to take it off. Sometimes you have to bubble it a little bit with your finger. And with this, you never want to cut on a patient because they would not be too happy with you if you put them in their web space. Good. So now I know that IP is clear and she can bend, and we're nice and snug in here. And you can see I'm just kind of lightly forming it here. Now touch again, nice and light. Good. So I have this nice and formed against the back, contoured to the hand, and then we'll contour here. Good. And you want to make sure you got a little bit of extension in the wrist. I'm going to trim all this off here. Good. And then I'll have her turn towards the camera so you can see all that. So I'm going to mark this with the splint here, so with the marker, so you can see what I'm doing. But I've got to have this part clear. That's the most important. So I'm going to trim that off. Good. And then with the wrist, touch for me. Good. And then I'm going to make sure that wrist is nice and cleared. The biggest thing is that you are making sure that the MP and that CMC is covered, because that's what we're trying to. Like I said, this is not going to be perfect the first time you do it. I make these a lot, so, and I can still have a bad splinting day and have to redo it once or twice. Good. So it's nice when you can mark it with the yellow, because you can see, sometimes I use my fingernail, but you can see what we're going to be grading you on. The IP is clear and it touches, so when it's bent, it's not interfering that function. It is nice and fit to the web space, and I'm going to reinforce that here in a second. It is the proximal crease is clear, so that she's got good finger motion, is not going to rubber, and that wrist is clear. Good. So with this one, I'm just going to make it a little prettier. Good. So I will go in and make these not sharp edges and kind of round it a little bit, and then I'm going to get and I'll do it on the inside here too, then I'm going to get cut a little piece and warm it up and reinforce that. So here, and I actually put moleskin a lot of times on these, which is padding, like really thin padding, just because there's so much movement going on here at the wrist and in the palm that just increases comfort. But if I don't have that, I definitely make sure, that they're not going to be sharp on that patient's skin.
So you round it out too?
On the IP?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I usually do that. She was saying if I round it in here, and I do, and I usually do that right before I put it back on the patient, and I let them bend, because that gets them a nice, good. So those are nice. So what she was talking about is this area right here, because it can still kind of be a little sharp. So I'll heat that up just a little bit, and then go back to my patient and have them bend their thumb IP joint. Good, hold it, and then really good, and bend, and then up, good, and then bend, and then I'll even kind of give them a little rounding there. Good. How's it feel in your wrist? Good, good. So she can bend freely, and that CMC joint is still stabilized. So now I'm going to go back and get my, did I put it in there?
The reinforcer?
I don't think so. There we go. Hello. Does it say? Alright. And then, all you're going to be doing, I'm going to have to cut this down a little bit. And just wishing it in there to reinforce that.
Beautiful.
And you want to make sure that it's not coming over here in the web space or over that IP joint. So IP is free and can touch the index. It is not interfering with her proximal digital crease, and wrist is free. So strapping with this is pretty simple. I will put a piece here, and then a piece right there on the back. Get it warm so it stays on. You know, these splints are all about that patient able to function, so it has got to be comfortable. So I have them kind of try it out, have them move around a little bit, and then usually end up kind of tweaking it, maybe in the next visit. And then we're here. Once again, your strapping does not, can't interfere with your wrist. And then I will round it, and then I take that sharp edge off usually because it kind of hurts the patient.